Hello, my name is Killjoy Roger, and if you're watching this video, you are either one of two things: a longtime subscriber of me playing for honor, or you're here to look up a Predator hunting guide. Now, Predator Hunting Grounds recently released, and I played the beta quite a bit, and I really enjoyed Predator. My problem was that I didn't really know how to play Predator until recently. After putting, I'd say, roughly about 24 hours in the game in total, since its release, not including the hours I put in beta, only in Predator that time being as well, I think I figured out how exactly to play him, so I'm going to be giving you guys my guide on how to effectively play the Predator. The beginning of every match needs to start off basically the same. Obviously, the fire team is going to be rushing their objectives as quickly as humanly possible, and if any stragglers get sent off, that's where you're going to actually start your hunting. Obviously, you're going to be trying to find fire team at the beginning of the round. That's sort of where part 1 of the challenge comes in, but overall it's very easy if you just know how to go into thermal and find your way into tracking them. Your actual battery / energy life at this stage doesn't really matter that much, so I recommend going invisible whenever you're kind of traveling slightly. You don't really want to get caught off guard by an AI who has maybe a shotgun or something and take a little bit of health damage, especially if you're playing a very squishy Predator. Me personally, I like Berserker. I don't mind the lower movement speed and whatnot, I just like that very beefy, tanky Predator. That way, whenever I start to actually finish off the fight towards the end, which I'll be going over towards the end of the video, that's when I know I can really push them and really apply that pressure. After burning as much time as possible, once you have found your opponents, this is where the actual hunt, I would say, begins. Now, if you're an avid hunter like myself in real life, you know that hunting in this game and hunting in real life are two totally separate things. Now, you have to kind of put yourself in the fire team position, which is why I highly recommend playing fire team and not only playing Predator. You see, fire team is going to want to play objectives very quickly and very fast-paced, unless they're trying to hunt you, in which case you can really flip the script and make that effective. Now, things get kind of awkward here and there with the somewhat clunky controls of Predator, but overall, Predator controls like a dream in this game, way better than I anticipated he would, although I have encountered a bug here or there when climbing the trees and whatnot. But excluding all of those shenanigans, it's fairly easy to spot your prey and figure out what you need to do. Step 1. Your first goal is going to be to harass them from a distance. Now, I say from a distance because rushing with a combi stick rarely ever works, and I have had it work myself, and even when you rush with things such as wrist blades or random items, you can definitely get kills. It's not too difficult to do, but it just rarely ever works in killing an entire team of 4. Now, once you get higher leveled, I would say around 50 plus, this is where you're really going to start encountering this, where people stick together very heavily, or they begin to travel in pairs. People who travel in pairs are much easier to take out than people who travel in a full pack, obviously. But harassing is the key here. You want to stay your distance, you want to stay as little visible as possible. You want to kind of watch what they're doing, you want to really think about the shots you can take and how you can really pinpoint your opponent and weaken them down. This is really key because you want to see the AI come in, and you're going to depend on them quite a bit in these situations, and there's one really big reason why. As I said, harassment. You see, that big red laser cannon that comes on your shoulder that shines that big red laser is extremely powerful and extremely potent at killing your opponents, but the problem with it is that it gives you away very heavily, even with the perks that, make the laser a little bit less visible. The main thing you're going to want to do with that is, as I said, abuse the AI here. You can go invisible and walk right past the AI and they'll never notice you even once. But when you have situations where you see all these guys running around you, you can really take that to your advantage. If they're focusing on trying to kill AI, they're not focusing on trying to kill you. Now granted, they'll be nervous because you do make those clicking noises, those roars. And this is why I always recommend taking the audio distraction tool. It's definitely useful and can really throw off your opponents very heavily. It at least makes them look in the wrong direction for at least a moment, even at higher level play. You throw that one way, believe me, you've definitely got a really good trap set up already. Now, as I said, I don't recommend ever going in close quarters towards the beginning. Saving your energy here is really key because in case you do need to get out quickly, you have the availability to go invisible and really get back into the fray whenever everything comes back. Now, as you see right there in that clip, I made a big mistake. I shouldn't have been that close. But when I saw him, I went ahead and decided to take the shot. I got a little bit of chip damage on, and that's exactly what you need to do. Chip damage. This entire start of the fight is about making them using their healing items. You don't want to be towards the end of the match with them having things such as stim packs, or the healing syringes, whatever you want to call them, as well as med kits and ammunition. You want them to burn as much of that as you can. That's what the beginning is about. Towards the mid-game, things will change. As I said, towards the beginning, it's all about harassing that opponent. You really want to instill that fear. Even trying to make them feel like you're incompetent sometimes will work wonders. Also keep in mind that whenever you go invisible and you sit still, they cannot see you at all whatsoever. You are completely cloaked whenever you are completely still. Now, with that being said, the moment you move, they can see that fuzzy outline of you, and it's really easy to see when climbing and things like that. So whenever you're climbing, you may as well go ahead and turn that invisibility off, save that energy for a later date. It doesn't matter most of the time. You really need to save that energy. Now, once they get past that first objective, this is your stage 2. At least that's how I like to look at it. Now, stage 2 is going to be mostly about damage and hostility. This is where you want to apply pressure. This is where you really want them to start thinking and making mistakes. If you can get them to spread out or catch a straggler, this is where you kill them at. This is where things start to get a little bit difficult in terms of playing the Predator. The beginning and the end are the two easiest parts. The middle is where they have the most advantage, because you're going to be trying to kill them as quickly and as swiftly as possible, as well as picking them off one by one here. Now, towards the mid-game, you'll notice quite a few mistakes are going to be made by them. Even if it's something as simple as them all grouping up really tightly, or them spreading just a little too far apart, you can take advantage of them no matter what they do. You see, splash damage with that blaster cannon that's on your shoulder is extremely potent. And you'll notice I'm not really talking about the weapon loadouts. The reason why is because I think all of the weapon loadouts are extremely good. I like using the combi stick and yada bow, and the reason why is because the bow doesn't give me away. This combi stick is extremely powerful close quarters. The only weapon I recommend you always bring is the combi stick, and that is only because it is quite in fact the best melee weapon in slot. Now, I did have a little bit of an issue here, right here in this clip, because I can't shoot through that little tree limb apparently. So I did make the ballsy play to rush. Now, that was not smart of me, but I saw the chance to down 2 of them. Now, the biggest part here that you have to remember, other than just applying pressure, do not get greedy. Ever. Now, if you see any AI that get in your way like those did, clear them out, do whatever you need to do. Now, their ending objective was to kill those AI, and I wasn't thinking at the time, I just needed them out of my way to keep going. Now, I'm currently bleeding. That's pretty apparent. I hurt myself really bad. But you at minimum have 2 different healing syringes as Predator. Now, if you have the Pockets perk, you can have 3. I always bring it, no matter which Predator I'm playing as. Like I said, I love Berserker, big, tanky, beefy boy. Having 3 healing abilities is extremely good. But with that being said as well, if you're ever hurt, keep running. Don't stop. Don't try to hide behind a tree. Don't try to do anything like that. Keep running until you know you're going to be able to at least get half of your health back, cancel that, and go back into that fight. Personally, I like to go back to full health, but as I said, this entire setup is all about pressure. You do not have to trophy kill. You do not have to kill at all. Maiming your opponent is just as good. If you can weaken your opponent to the point that they're still using these healing items, that they're still focusing on healing each other, that they're still just overall pressured, that they're still overthinking things or underthinking things, you're doing your job correctly. It's extremely key to this entire scenario. This is phase 3, closing the gap. This is where you really want to kill your opponents. This is where you want to have no hesitation. This is where you need to stop thinking and let your instincts take over. If you see someone running off by themselves, take them out. Now, one key thing about this entire thing here, especially in Phase 3, is stragglers. Take them out as quickly as possible. You never know if one of their friends might come running back, or if they're all in a party chat or something similar. They can, in fact, fuck you up. Do not think that they won't. You never know if one guy walks around that corner with an MGL or a minigun and burns your ass to death. You have to be swift. You have to capitalize on every single mistake in this section. Now, trophy killing is, you don't have to do it by any stretch of the imagination. Just kill. Maim, down, do whatever you need to. But right here, this is important. Now you'll notice they're already calling for reinforcements. That's good. I just so happened to be lucky enough that I started killing them towards the end of the match. As I said, you want them to call reinforcements as late as possible. If they do it during mid-game, don't worry about that. And the reason why is because if they're doing it towards late game, chances are they're separated. This is where Fireteam gets kind of straggled, because it's more of an every man for themselves type deal. Towards the end, most people are going to want to get as much experience as they possibly can, and you can capitalize on that majorly. Like right here, these two guys wanted to stick together. I took advantage of that to the T. You can do that as well. If this same scenario happens, do it. Now Berserker Predator gets this major advantage right here. Being able to run in and deal as much damage as quickly as possible, you have it. Now, as you could tell, there's two key things here that also you're going to want to pay attention to. Ammo capacity, ammo type. If you notice they're using a revolver, you hear those 6 shots, you run in. Don't hesitate to stand still, and don't hesitate to jump. Standing still is not a good thing to do at all, but don't hesitate to do it sometimes if you're just attacking and focusing down one target with a big gun. Jumping is also really nice because obviously ADS time and things of that nature, they're really going to fuck up. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. If you did, be sure to drop a like, and God bless. Happy hunting, boys.